Hello, Brad here, just to say we're super proud that the Friday 5pm podcast is sponsored by the Malt Miller, the UK's best home brew store.
We use the Malt Miller for all of our homebrew experiments, as well as tapping them up for advice and binging on their awesome YouTube channel all the time.
That's why whenever we release a homebrew video, we put a recipe kit live on the Malt Miller, so you can brew with the exact same amazing ingredients that we did. The same ingredients used by pro brewers.
So alongside the Malt Miller's nitro-flushed hops, cold-stored yeast and milled-to-order malts, you can pick up recipe kits for our 5 Points Best Bitter, Russian River West Coast IPA, and now the fastest beer in the world, a hazy session IPA that goes from grain to glass in less than 48 hours.
Sign up to their newsletter at tinyurl.com/Malt Miller to get 5% off your first order. With the Malt Miller's amazing customer service and Johnny's 48-hour recipe, you could order the ingredients on a Monday and be drinking the beer by the weekend.
Speaking of which, it's Friday.
It's 5pm.
So enjoy this week's Friday 5pm podcast. We're back. Did you miss us? I missed us. That's a weird phrase. I missed you, I think, Bradley, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh.
I missed our Friday 5pm.
Thanks, mate. You missed my 40th birthday as well. It wasn't your own fault because I was drinking in a Wetherspoons at 8am.
Jesus.
On my way to Barcelona.
You know how to party. I
Yeah,
I did message you. You say I missed it.
You did.
I did. I
No, you
didn't forget
didn't.
it was happening.
No. Of course
And
not.
you then sent me pictures of that 8am pint while I was
Oh,
sat
I
at the
did.
desk doing work for our company we own.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
Swanning off to Barcelona.
You were probably drinking an 8am pint as well, I imagine. That's how you roll these days. Fast and free.
Tell me about Barcelona. How was it?
Oh, dude, it was great. You've been on holiday as well, but yeah. So I went there, just a very last minute thing, 40th birthday. Found a cheap deal, because I love a bargain, Johnny. I love a bargain. I'm always on the lookout for a good offer. And we stayed in a 4-star hotel just off, in El Raval, just off La Ramblas, which is like the mega touristy
Tourist town,
road.
yeah.
But it's in El Raval, which is like, it's a nice bit. I always stay around there. Literally about a 2-minute walk to La Boqueria. So we were going to La Boqueria for breakfast, which was incredible. We managed to... That's the giant food market that's in Barcelona, sort of town centre. We managed to one day get seats at one of the very sought-after little tapas bars that you can go and sort of have oysters and lots of fresh fish from the market and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't think I even know what those seats look like because I've never seen one vacant.
Oh, mate, I tell you, we went down there quite early because they're always just rammed and people queue behind people that sat down, which is
super
weird.
Awkward. I've got some social anxieties, but that would I couldn't stand that.
No,
that would be. I feel awkward. Like in a pub where you hover like the other side of the room because somebody looks like they might finish their pint and might be leaving. Couldn't stand behind someone or be stood behind while eating.
No. It was so worth it. I mean, it was incredible. I was drinking. I mean, I'm in Barcelona, Johnny, and the only beers they had available were Estrella. But I in the mornings I like to drink Clara, which is like they put cloudy lemonade, half cloudy lemonade, half Estrella Damm together.
I'm into it.
And you have that.
I'm racking my
refreshing.
brains to remember in the lager taste test that I did. I think Estrella tasted a bit like. Was it like bubblegummy? There was something weird about Spanish yeast. San Miguel had it as well.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of Estrella, only when in Catalonia, only when in Catalan.
Yeah.
Will I drink it. Over here, I've mistakenly got it once in a can because I wanted to recreate the feeling of sort of walking to Barceloneta Beach and getting a street vended 50-cent can, ice cold can as you're wandering to the beach. Like 50p.
And what were you like,
for
just
a can
stood by
of
the
beer.
Thames or something?
I think I might have bought it in Tesco or somewhere else. Other supermarkets are available, and it just tastes crap. I mean, it doesn't taste amazing when you're out there either, but it's ice cold.
Context
And
is
that
everything
is-
with these beers.
That's it.
Bad
And,
beer,
you know,
context can rescue it. Yeah.
which brings me on. So we had this great experience in there in the market, and then we also went to Campaixano or I like to call it La Champaneria, which is right by the beach in Elborn, and that place is just epic. It's like a locals tapas bar, but when you go in, you have to. They won't serve you. They only serve cava, so you buy an ice cold bottle of rosette cava for like €5, and then they give you these little I think they're called coupe glasses. They're like martini glasses, and you stand at a table if you're lucky enough to get a table, sipping ice cold pink drink and eating a little hamburguesa, because they won't let you buy a drink unless you buy food. So I had 2 hamburguesas, and then we had like all these like pickled things and little croquettes and all kinds of stuff. Amazing. I also went to where did I go? I went to Garage Beer Co. and I drank some soup, which tasted amazing. I know you're
just
a big
to clarify,
fan of Garage.
that is a New England IPA, not
No,
Brad deciding
no.
he really wanted some Heinz while on holiday.
No, I mean I always want.
Everybody always wants
I
Heinz to give.
Yeah. I always take a tin of Heinz spaghetti hoops in my bag. No, I don't. Imagine that. What film is that where his bag's full of Monster Munch? Do you remember that film? I don't remember what it is.
Could be one of your fever dreams again, Bradley. It's not ringing a bell.
There's a guy who goes on holiday and his bag is just full of Monster Munch because he doesn't like food.
Pickled onion?
Yeah, oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Sorry, you shouldn't really need to clarify, but I just want to make sure, because I do quite like Flaming Hot.
Mate, you know what? They're growing on me. Flaming Hot are definitely pretty good. I also love beef. I mean, they're all great.
Oh no, the beef is the beef. There's better beef crisps, but there's no better pickled onion.
No, that's true. Have you seen The Beef? It's a TV show. Just to go on a massive tangent now.
Is it
very good.
It's like the opposite of Cowspiracy?
Shit, it's called The Bear, not The Beef. Sorry.
Oh,
it's
the
called
chef
The
thing.
Bear.
It's like Boiling Point, but a series.
It's
on my list.
fantastic.
But
It's so good.
I read a review that said to calm down afterwards, watch something like Uncut Gems. So they're implying it's incredibly stressful.
Mate, it is so ridiculously stressful. But I just slammed the whole series like a couple of nights this week, and it was just epic. Very slow burn at the start, but it's the acting in it is phenomenal, and it's set in Chicago, in this little slice joint, like a kind of beef sandwich kind of place called. It's called The Beef, the Beef of Chicago, the original Beef of Chicagoland. That's the name of the restaurant. It's very good. I really enjoyed it. I'll give it a
look. I've been slamming my way through Welcome to Wrexham, which I think you should watch.
What's that?
Because I know you don't get football.
This is the Rob McKenney thing, right? Where he's bought Wrexham. I love him. Him
and Ryan Reynolds bought Wrexham Football Club, and it is.
Yeah.
If anybody hasn't watched it, it's like Friday Night Lights, but for real. It is utterly amazing. And I put it on, and my wife. Well, I asked my wife if we could watch it, and was surprised that she was just like, "Yeah, sounds good." We both kind of love Ryan Reynolds. We don't love his films, but we love Ryan Reynolds. And it is utterly amazing, and you do not have to love football. But if you don't love football, it might just persuade you that there's more to football than balls and feet. Not balls. Well, it's ball.
Not balls.
Yeah, let's just clarify that.
A ball. Man, that sounds great. It's on my list, but I couldn't because it's so football-y. I was like, "Oh, can I do it? I don't know." I've just got into watching Ted Lasso series 2 again last night, which I think you said it tails off a bit. Series 2.
We gave up on series 2. We really didn't like it.
I fell asleep watching it, so that probably is testament to it tailing off a bit. But I do like Brett Goldstein, who is, I think, he's retired. Well, I wouldn't spoil it, sorry. He's in it, and he's great. I listened to his podcast, Films to Be Buried With Brett Goldstein.
I don't think it's a spoiler that he's in it. He's like one of the stars.
Yeah, he's great. He does a very odd, gravelly voice, which is, in his podcast, he kind of sounds like Noel Fielding. But
really?
Ted Lasso. Yeah. Almost the spit for Noel, like vocally. But he can do like a gravelly voice, which is his sort of. Well, he uses it as a kind of character voice, I guess, in his podcast sometimes.
Proper acting.
Yeah, it's great. Proper acting.
I'm conscious that we couldn't have talked less about beer since we started. There's been a lot of Pink Carver, a lot of good TV show chat. Should we talk about my holiday?
Mate, well, let's go on to your holiday.
So I didn't go to Barcelona. I went to... still, it was a very warm and sunny place, which was the Peak District.
Mm.
So we were staying...
Famously warm and sunny.
Famously warm and sunny. Well, I mean, it was. We were walking up... walking up the peaks in T-shirts. I had a baby on my back, so I was very, very warm. But we went to the Buxton Tap House, which was really great. From the photos, I thought it was like a little dingy, a small sort of dingy craft beer bar. But actually, it's a really nice, open, spacious, quite kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like almost speakeasy kind of vibe with really, really good beer. There's the Red Willow Tap, where we only went for one, but really enjoyed that as well. That's in an old bank. It's a bit more... I mean, it feels fancy, you know. It's quite an odd feel, to be honest. It's not quite where I'd usually like to drink, but they'd done it pretty well, and the beer was delicious. Red Willow are a real unsung hero, I guess, in the craft beer movement. They came out of, like, in my head, they were just like a normal kind of cask brewery, but they've really worked exceptionally hard. They brew an incredible range of styles. They still do lots of traditional stuff very well, but lots of exciting new stuff. And lots of heritage stuff as well, like milds and things like that. And making really good lagers as well. And smoked beer. I had a great smoked beer from them quite recently. So, yeah, that. And then I went to Thornbridge.
Nice.
Twice.
Mate.
It was so good.
Twice?
Yeah, it was so good. So I went. Sorry, we both went. We all went. The family went. And I wasn't driving that day. And we had to go back the next day because my wife wanted to have a couple of drinks because the beers were tasting that good. So we had to go twice. And the pizzas, I wouldn't quite write home about it because I'm not really sure my parents are that interested. But it was good pizza as well. You'd appreciate the pizza, Brad.
Nice. I'm just looking at Buxton Brewery Tap House, which looks amazing.
Yeah, it's really nice.
It's a beautiful pub. So that's in Buxton, right? Which is a spa town.
Yeah, so right in the heart of it, right behind the Crescent. In Buxton.
It's kind of like the Bath of the North, isn't it? I would say. I've not really been to Buxton much, but it had a lot of money, or it still has a lot of money, right? From being almost like kind of like a Victorian spa town.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much money it had, but definitely, I think they even got like the same town planner from Bath. They looked at Bath and went,
really?
You know, we've got the water, we should be doing something similar.
Yeah.
And that was. I mean, they did a pretty great job. And it's a real beer town, like some really great pubs. It's got 2 great tap rooms. It's a short drive to other great places. It is, if you're a beer lover and an outdoors lover, I heartily recommend the Peaks. The Lake District is pretty good. You've got Lakes Bruco. You've got some decent pubs, but the Peaks is a little bit smaller. So if you really want to drink and enjoy the outdoors, the Peaks is pretty great, and Thornbridge was the highlight. Like the beers are they're just world class, really. I always forget, you know, because I mostly drink Jaipur. That's the one that gets out of sort of the north, out of Sheffield, out of the Peaks most. But damn, when I was at that tap room and I had a brilliant Kolsch, a brilliant Pilsner. Green Mountain is a fantastic sort of hazy session IPA. I had a pint of the Phelan of the Oktoberfest beer that won the blind taste test that we'll talk about in a bit. Just all of the beers were absolutely goddamn stellar. And yeah, I don't think they get enough love from the hardcore beer geeks. I think everybody, lots of people in their craft beer journeys probably just get to Thornbridge and stop, I'd imagine, because it's just that good. It's kind of the peak. If you want really well made but very sessiony beer, there's nobody in the UK that does it better. And I forgot that until I went back twice. I
am just looking at the Thornbridge tap room, which looks like it's a frigging aircraft hangar. It looks massive.
Yeah, it's a big old warehouse. They've converted half of it, and then now behind that is the brewery that used to be up at the Country House. So they're brewing stuff in there all the time. So it's a cool venue. It could have been really empty and cold, and it is, it is big, and it isn't like sort of that comfortable or homely, but it is still a really nice, light, airy place to hang out.
Dude, if basically your holiday was a recce for us doing sort of northern / peaks road trip to all
hiking
the great
through the peaks,
right?
to all the peak peak craft beer places.
Yeah, man. I think that'd be great. Even just a little, like a road trip in, we just drive around and hit them all. I think that'd be fantastic.
Well, maybe it'll happen.
I had a guy come tint my Renault Kangoo windows this week, Johnny.
It's a very Brad sentence.
And his name was Darren, right? And he was a super nice guy. Got talking to him, and he was like, "Oh, you got a little." He's like, I said, "Oh, this is like a little mini camper van. Basically, I've got a little bed thing I can fold out in the back." He's like, "Sweet." He's like, "I've got a stealth camper." I was like, "Oh wow, why have you got that?" And he's like, "Oh, I basically just go around and run up mountains." I was like, "What?" So he's a fell runner, he runs up Ben Nevis. He said he can run up Ben Nevis in about 2 hours, and run down it in just over an hour.
He said, "You say you can. Most people can't." And probably when he said can, I'm pretty sure he can.
No, sorry, he can. He can run up Ben Nevis in just over 2 hours. I was like, wow. That's amazing. So, yeah, weird sort of interconnected world we live in where you're talking about running up a mountain with your baby on your back, and then
there was no Darren. Running involved.
Well, maybe to the toilet.
A lot of sweating, which might have been happening with Darren. But
the sweat was running down your face. There you go.
It really was. It was warm.
There was, but that looks like
on the first day we thought we'd do a quick walk up to, it's called Solomon's Temple, which is just outside of Buxton. Oh boy, that's a steep climb.
That sounds like something out of an Indiana Jones film. Solomon's Temple. Really?
Solomon's Temple, yeah. I mean, it should be something out of it, but out of something like that. But I looked up the history of it, and it was just like the town. There used to be a temple up there, and I think it got knocked down or was ruined. Was a ruin, and then the townspeople just went, "Oh, we'll build another." So it's only about 120 years old, and there's nothing in it. It's just a round tower. But I mean, it looks cool. It's just, I wanted a bit more authenticity, particularly after the amount of sweat I gave.
When I was a kid, I really liked it. I think it's probably quite a bad film now. I really like this film called King Solomon's Mines, which was about Alan Quatermain, who's like it's based on a Victorian novel about a sort of like British explorer who's a bit like Indiana Jones, but like this is written in the Victorian times. I'm thinking about it, it's probably like very bad. Like I've never read the book, but it's probably like there are like Zulu warriors in it and stuff, I think, from memory, the film maybe. It's probably all kinds of politically incorrect these days, but I remember as a kid thinking, oh, Alan Quatermain, he's kind of like a British Indiana Jones. King Solomon's Mines are this mythical place where King Solomon had got all of the wonders of the world and like stuck them in this underground mine, which he's sort of looking for. But why did I start talking about
it?
Oh,
I have no, because Solomon.
Yeah, Solomon's Temple. Yeah. So that was why I went off on that one. But anyway, what was I gonna say? Oh, you love your man. What's his Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
This week I also watched Mississippi Grind with my girlfriend, which I think is my favourite Ryan Reynolds film. It's just a tour de force of acting chops from Ryan. I don't think he's the best actor in the world.
No, he's really not. As soon as he said that, I was like, you sure it's Ryan Reynolds? He's
very charismatic though. And
he is, but he's the same guy in every film. He's whatever the opposite of a character actor is. Somebody that is just themselves in every film.
Well, he's alongside possibly the best character actor of our generation, potentially. Ben Mendelsohn.
Ben Mendelsohn. That was going to be my second guess. Yeah.
I love Ben Mendelsohn, and they're both like. So it's called Mississippi Grind. They're both kind of like gambling addicts, I guess, but Ryan Reynolds is like more carefree, and he's sort of like obviously beautiful, charming, a hit with the ladies, and then Ben Mendelsohn is kind of like a sad character, but they go on this really cool road trip down the Mississippi, hitting up all of the places to bet, and it's all about like, knowing when to quit and all this kind of stuff. It's fucking brilliant. I love it. I think it's on something at the minute because I watched it on telly.
I'll have to give it
the other day.
Give it a look.
Yeah,
mostly my love for Ryan comes from his fashion sense, and also he did a really good film which is not something I say often about Ryan Reynolds, but
Green Lantern.
no, it's the one where he's in a computer game. God damn it, my brain's gone.
Yeah. I like that film. It's
Yeah.
okay. I saw it in the cinema twice, I think. But
Did you?
have a.
It's not that good.
I have a cinema card, so I went on my own,
Right.
and then I took my girlfriend because she
You
was
were
like,
like, "Hey, it's not bad."
Well, she was like, "Oh, I really wanted to see that." I was like, "Oh, go on then." But it's okay. It's pretty fun. I mean, his other best thing is Deadpool. I mean, Deadpool's pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't enjoy superhero movies, but I think I watched that on a plane and I was like, yeah, I can see the appeal of this one.
Yeah, it's like an anti-hero kind of superhero guy, isn't he?
Yeah,
so
I guess so. Yeah. Anyway, Brad, we've deviated so far away from beer again. Right.
Well, Johnny, this brings us on nicely to some of the comments, mate.
Yeah. Should we address that one first then?
Yeah.
So yeah, we had a comment on this week's video, which has nothing to do with the video, which is very on theme for Craft Beer Channel, from Stumble Booty. I'd love to know the story behind that name. It says, love the podcast, not complaining at all, but I really like the longer episode you guys did somewhat recently, about 40 minutes. I thought it was perfect, and I'd also like some more unedited Brad. Now,
oh, come on.
I replied to this and said, we aim for under 30, maybe we're selling you all short. And then, well, everyone weighed in and went, no, we want more.
Yeah, I mean, we had John Merrick, who I'm presuming is not the Elephant Man, John Merrick. He said FWIW. Well, I don't know what that acronym means, do you?
For what it's worth.
For what it's worth. I am dyslexic, sorry, for what it's worth. For what it's worth, I reckon go long on podcasts. All my favourites are essentially a hangout. And I get disappointed when an episode is under 90 minutes. Jesus.
Yeah, blimey. I'm not sure we can stretch to that. I mean, we're working on it on this episode, but we'll see.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So the first thing I'd say is, you leave them wanting more. Isn't this proof we're doing this podcast right? But the concept of the podcast, because back when we launched this, we had another format, which was the long form interview podcast, and that's where all this started. We started the Friday 5 p.m. because we wanted something a bit more regular. We wanted an opportunity to talk about the behind the scenes stuff, and clearly we wanted to talk about films. So we launched Friday 5 p.m. sort of format as a quick wind down to the weekend. So you crack open your first beer of the weekend, you listen to the Friday 5 p.m. You can say to your partner or your friends, I just need half an hour, or you can on the commute or something like that, it's done by the time you get home. Because the thing that annoys me about really long podcasts is, because of the way that my life is, I can never listen to them in one go. So the whole concept of this was that it was going to be really short, but equally, if people find 45 minutes still short enough and still super entertaining, then I will 100% stretch to that. It depends. I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So like, please tweet us, Facebook us, DM us on any of the social medias, and let us know what your thoughts are about this. Because if you are always disappointed when it's 20, 25 minutes long, and you're like, I could put aside 45 minutes for this. 40 minutes is probably about the right time for a beer.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's a little bit long. Maybe for 2 beers. So maybe we are underselling it. Maybe we should aim for just over 30 instead of under 30 and let it roll a bit longer. I don't know.
Mate, I mean, it depends how you... I think there are different podcasts for different times, right? So if I'm working just throughout the day, I'll put on sort of... If I'm not listening to music, I'll put on familiar people that I just love listening to. Even if it's not like the best quality podcast. So I've been listening a lot to Nick Helm. Do you remember Nick Helm, the comedian?
Yeah, the name rings a bell.
He's in Uncle. You might know him from Uncle, the TV series it was on like BBC, where he plays like a scruffy uncle that has to sort of help out with his nephew. Anyway, he's very funny. He's very self-deprecating, and he's got a podcast called Fan Club with another guy called Nathaniel Metcalf. It's the audio recording quality is terrible. I don't know what they're doing. Apparently they've got a producer. Sounds like shit, mate. It sounds absolutely terrible, but they're both really quite entertaining. I love Nick. I love his sort of style of comedy. And they just talk about film for like half an hour, and then they'll get a guest on and they'll just ask them about film, essentially, and other stuff. And that's quite long. I like listening to that. Films to be buried with, I've just mentioned that. That's great. That's also very long. That's like an hour and a half long. I've recently got in. Well, I used to like listening to Chatting Shit with Alan Sieper and Hugo Chegwin from People Just Do Nothing.
How are you listening to all these podcasts? Well, I mean, I guess you're a designer, so you can.
Yeah.
Because I'm writing, I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's the thing. So
Or
I'm either designing or drawing stuff. So I listen to a lot of podcasts. Andrew Callahan, who does Channel 5 News with Andrew Callahan, probably one of my favourite things on YouTube. He's a bit like a Louis Theroux, but he travels around in an RV in America, meeting fringe groups in society and the sort of like strange underbelly of America.
You're sort of flirting with a thing that I've been thinking about with podcasts, which is, pretty much every celebrity these days has a podcast, particularly if you're white, male, and a celeb. And a lot of them are pretty awful. And I think podcasts, more than almost any other format, maybe YouTube as well, they need a little bit of magic that you can't quite predict, so you can have terrible sound quality, but if there's chemistry between the hosts or the format is really strong, it can really work. So I'm just a little bit worried about tweaking our format, because it has been significantly more successful than the long format that we did. It's something that we really, really enjoy making, and I wonder if we go to 45 minutes each time, are we going to run out of stuff to say? Is it going to be too much of a burden every Friday to put this together over the first beer of the weekend? And I don't know. This is probably the sort of stuff that we should talk about off air, but it's I don't know. When something's working, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's something I say a lot in my life. Basically, it's an excuse to be lazy. But I don't know. I think we'll leave it to the listeners. So the best way to get in touch with us is join our Patreon, where we're in our forum. Well, I'm certainly in the forum all day long, avoiding work. So drop in there, sling us $2 while you're at it, support the podcast, because that means we can spend more time on it, and let us know your thoughts, or just drop us a DM or a public message. Doesn't need to be a DM. And if I reckon we could go to 45 minutes every week without ruining the format.
Well, the thing that Nick Helm does with his buddy is they'll talk for half an hour about what they always talk about, and then they'll get someone on the phone to chat to them about what they do, which I quite like. I mean, they don't get too heavy. They just we could ring like a guest star to come in.
I mean, that's almost what the bubble was about. It was chatting to somebody about their world.
But that was the whole format of that, right? Whereas this could be me and you for half an hour, and then we bring someone else in to just sort of ask them about what they do, potentially.
Yeah, maybe.
Although that makes editing a lot trickier and, and all that kind of stuff.
Maybe the other thing is we do like a monthly rundown. So like every fourth Friday 5 p.m. is a Friday 5 till 6 p.m. and it's it's longer form. Perhaps we could have a guest. Perhaps we could drink specific beers, like a proper cliche beer podcast where you talk nonsense about beer with a guest and drink specific beers. We could even let people know what those beers are going to be in advance, and they could drink along with it, and just try and find once a month do a longer format that's still released on Friday at 5 p.m. but is a look back. Because also another thing that happens is we talk about the comments from that week's video, but actually a lot of views happen over the weekend, obviously, because people's lives are busy. A lot of comments come in later. A lot of the more considered comments come in a little bit later. No shade to the people we're about to talk about with this week's videos, but I don't know. Maybe there's something where we can take a slightly longer view of what we're doing and take a slightly longer format without messing too much with this. Because also, I mean, the reason I missed doing Friday 5 p.m. last week is because it's actually the time where you and me communicate least about the work stuff, like we need to do the thumbnail, we need to contact these people, we need to design this. It's more us actually having a conversation about beer culture and culture more widely. So I'd never want to lose that, because I think otherwise we'd just be colleagues to some extent.
Exactly, mate. Well, that's it, right? It's like you say, it's when we get to be our most unedited, how we really are in real life, and just as good friends, just having a debunk of the week. Debunk, that's the wrong word, but like a
I mean, sometimes we need to debunk things that have been said. There is an error in this week's video, which might be a little segue. Should we get to it?
Go on then.
So we'll cover this week's video first, in which there is a small error I want to clarify, which is that in the video, because I'm not thinking, I'm in the flow of things, I say that cold IPAs are fermented at the same temperatures as most lagers, and that's not strictly true. Lots of them are, but others are fermented significantly warmer than lager temperatures. So they're using lager yeast, but they're fermenting even as high as like 18, where you'd start using like the Chico strain and stuff like that, like a classic West Coast strain. So I just wanted to make that clear that part of the style is fermenting warm. So it could be warm as in you're fermenting at 12 at the top end of a lager yeast, or you could literally be doing it at a very warm temperature, which means that the yeast will clear up its mess quicker, but it has lots of other risks. You can bring out other things in there. And I've been really surprised by how few esters and off flavors there have been in these cold IPAs. They have ended up really clean, which kind of ruins this whole idea that you have to ferment lager low and slow. If you could just, get Saf lager fermented at 19 and cold crash it and make a lager, that's a bit of a game changer. So I need to dive into that. I've spoken to some brewers about it because it's confusing me. I've been having a WhatsApp with head brewer Verdant about. He just messaged me saying, like, cold IPA seems to have baffled you, Johnny. So I'm having a chat with him about it all, and I'll try and get to the bottom of how you can ferment these lagers way hotter than they're supposed to be.
I like the idea of making a homebrew channel video of the fastest lager in the world, kind of thing. Could we call it it's Chico time? Well,
I mean, there is a Kvike yeast that's used for making faux lagers. I think the Apartment Brewer, which is a great YouTube channel, homebrewing channel, I think he's just done a comparison between he brewed a fest beer with like the Via Stefan, like a classic lager yeast, and then one with this Kvike yeast to see if you can taste the difference. And I need to dig into that to see. There's lots of cool stuff. I think, once the Grainfather project is done, which it almost is, we're doing our final video, we're just doing the research now. These are the kind of videos I'd love to do. A bit brewlosophy-esque, but not scientific like brewlosophy. Stuff where we go do you have to ferment lager cold? Or all of these things, do you have to mash for an hour? Do you have to boil for an hour? Things like this that are just perceived rules in brewing, but we've done so much to our ingredients, improved our ingredients so much. Maybe we don't have to. Malt is so well modified these days. You might only need a half-hour mash. So
I mean, I guess these sort of timings are sort of safety nets, aren't they? Where it's like, if you do this,
you're pretty much guaranteed. But But then also the most of the comments we get on our homebrew sort of videos and stuff is, I did this mash regime and I didn't hit my numbers after an hour. So you could do it in 30, you could do it in 2 hours. It's that a great brewer knows how to control those elements. But I don't know. There's a lot of potential for exploring the unwritten rules or the very much written rules of homebrew. Nice.
Well, look, we had some good comments on video. We had one from Eileen Doyle Wade about the can of Fremont Legend Cold IPA, which we were speculating what the bird was on the front, and they said, I believe the bird on the Fremont Legend Cold IPA is a great blue heron, native bird of the Pacific Northwest region, and I imagine Fremont uses it in a lot of its branding. I don't know if that's true or not, but I always like finding out about birds. Is that called ornithology? Is that ornithology?
Birds,
Twitching?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
birds, mate. Yeah. Ornithology.
Great blue heron. Sorry, not heron. Great blue heron, Johnny. Herons are shits, aren't they? Because people who have koi carp, you get sort of older men that have got a pond in their garden.
Spent thousands of pounds on carp.
Thousands of pounds on koi carp, and then fucking herons come along and just pinch them out. Down in one sort of job.
Is it old men that get koi carp and then it's young people that get koi carp tattoos? What?
Yeah, well, the koi carp tattoo thing, isn't that like a Yakuza traditional Japanese tattoo thing, right? So that goes into that. Yeah, in the sort of... Because the only people historically in Japan that got tattoos were criminals. I don't know if I'm talking out my arse here, but... Yakuza certainly have full back tattoos, which are incredible, And that traditional Japanese style is a lot of sort of fluid koi carps and like beautiful flowers, like blossom flowers and all this kind of like.
Sounds very wholesome for a criminal.
Well, but then you get sort of ones that have got like, is it Hanuman sort of face? It's like a devil face. I haven't got a single tattoo. I don't believe you have either, right?
You haven't seen mine? No, I don't.
So like we're not the best people to talk about tattooing, but
well, I'm sure somebody
tattoos.
can message us and explain why people have koi carps on their bodies, why old people have koi carp in their ponds, and why herons love expensive fish. Maybe they're just just fancy like that.
Do you reckon they taste good? I reckon they taste great. Probably it tastes like.
Well, we don't really eat carp, do we? That's not a.
No.
Are they bottom feeders or something? I don't know.
Is a carp a bottom feeder? I mean, that's a good question, Johnny. They got a funny shaped mouth. I reckon they are a bottom feeder. They've got a funny shaped mouth. Some of them have got like whiskers as well, haven't they? Almost like a catfish, potentially. Maybe I'm definitely talking out my arse now.
Of all of the digressions we've taken today, that one is the best.
Yeah.
So I got a comment from Joshua Stania, who says, Mate.
Yeah.
I'm in Portland, Oregon, so he definitely doesn't speak like that. And have plenty of these available. We distribute Wayfinder, so I presume he's a distributor, and work with what I believe is one of the minds behind the style. They do actually vary quite substantially between breweries. Maybe we should send you a mixed pack to try. We'd love that if it wasn't an absolute nightmare to do. But so basically, it seems, particularly with young styles, lots of people misinterpret them, which we thought might have been the case, but the fact that both of them in the video were so similar kind of implied that they hadn't. But it seems like there's a lot of variation in the style, and I think that the one that we had, I think the Fremont one was a bit... I will never think that hoppy Corona is a good idea. So
no.
I'm intrigued to try like an all Pilsner with rice, super hoppy, biotransformed IPA. That could be great, and my understanding is that is closer to what the Wayfinder one is.
Right.
But
I had a comment.
Corn in IPA, never.
No, I'm not a big corn fan. Unless you're talking about the 90s... late 90s or 2000
2000
Freak on a Leash variety. Yeah. I've been so another thing I like talking to podcasts and listening to stuff when I'm designing. I sometimes put on a YouTube channel called Trash Theory, where the guy just talks about different music scenes and like the genesis of them and like where they came from and all this stuff. So I was listening to one yesterday about rap metal, which I fucking hate, really. But it was quite interesting to hear where that had kind of come from and the sort of the fusion of both together. So yeah.
Does sound interesting.
Let's go away from that. But like, I had a comment from Splattermelt talking of like different...
He sounds like a rap metal artist.
It does. Splattermelt, they were really a heavy cut, you know. They were like... You'd have to be really into the rap metal to appreciate Splattermelt. Yeah, he said, cannot speak for the beers you tried. However, had Sierra Nevada's cold torpedo, Johnny. I love the sound of that. He had Sierra Nevada's cold IPA months back and thought that was pretty good. Refreshing, crisp, and still carried a likewise flavour to their noteworthy regular torpedo. Worked for me on a hot summer day and didn't taste anything like a hoppy Corona, thankfully.
But I bet it didn't taste anything like Torpedo either, because Torpedo, the joy of Torpedo is rich malt character with massive hot bitterness and sticky resin. It's a weird choice by Sierra. I mean, I guess they did it to their IPA, but I'd have picked, hazy little thing or something and done it. Well, I mean, that's not a West Coast IPA, so in theory that shouldn't work. But I don't know. Yeah, these big multi West Coasters, don't ruin those.
No,
it's supposed to be an addition. Yeah,
I do like Torpedo, so I'd like to drink one of those. Please.
But all you're going to have left at that point is the hop combination, which, all due respect to hops, is only a very small part of what makes West Coast IPAs really good. And that's something I sort of learned when I was brewing it. It was like most of the conversation that I had with Vinny when we were doing that was not about the hop selection. It was a little bit about the hop process, but really all the magic was happening in the mash.
Yeah.
And a bit in the boil with the hopping regime. So yeah, I mean, I'm not particularly interested in cold torpedo, but I would be interested in the Sierra Nevada cold IPA because I think I think they would do it very well because they have 40 years of making exceptionally clean West Coast beers.
So we had we still need to do that trip. We need to go to the Torpedo Room and do a West Coast adventure.
After our documentary with Siren, I've got Ken's email now, so there's no escaping us. Yeah.
Do we want more comments? I have a couple of shorter comments. So we had one from CT, who said, "I tried Tiny Rebel's cold fermented IPA. It reminded me of Coors Light. Yuck. That doesn't sound good." One Wolf said, "I'm still intrigued by them and would love to try one. The mouthfeel and the texture piqued my curiosity the most." So that was the thing I liked most, was the texture of them. Very
there should be more beer with natural carbonation, because it is a markedly different texture. And, with IPAs, you might want a spikier carbonation because it helps with the perception of that bitterness. But, Spunning a New England IPA could really help with that velvetiness. Any lager, a hoppy lager could really benefit from that. Just don't stick fucking corn in it. Yeah.
Should we go on to the beer expert video, Johnny?
Yes.
Do you want to tell us briefly what that was about? What you were doing with that one?
So last week's video, which we didn't get to cover last week because I was away, was a beer expert blind taste test in which I tasted 14 British brewed fest beers and compared it to Paulaner Fest beer, which is sort of the best-selling one in the world, and was super impressed with the quality of them. The UK is not famous for its quality lagers. It's starting to get there. There's, I'd probably say 10, 15 breweries that can make it world-class, and then there's a big cohort that can make them really, really well. But I was amazed by how good a lot of these were. Even right down at the bottom, they were still very tasty beers. And I did that because, well, as you know, my latest book, A Year in Beer, was all about seasonality, and I was just really excited to see, other than Christmas beer, like the strongest element of seasonality I've seen in British brewing in a long time. So we had fest beers, and then we had a pretty good showing for green hop beers as well. So seasonality is coming back. I'm not sure how much credit I can take, but it is coming back. And yeah, they were great. I've saved a bunch for you, Bradley. I did drink all of the Thornbridge one because it was so good, but I still have a Braybrook and a Verdant and a couple of others that came pretty high up that you can try.
Beautiful,
because they were amazing, and it was good. I wanted to try out the beer expert format on less trashy things, I guess. So what I'd love to do is to do, maybe our Christmas video this year should be you and me doing a beer expert blind taste testing Christmas beers. I'm going to definitely do a low alcohol one in January. Probably a low alcohol lager one, and maybe a low alcohol like hoppy one as well, although there's so few good hoppy low alcohols, I don't know how much fun that'll be. But yeah, so that was good. That format worked. It's obviously not being watched as much as the trashy ones, but that's cool. The people that watched it really enjoyed it, I think.
I got to try a couple of these beers because you gave me a few you had left over. So
I
drank some lot. Yeah. Well, it was very generous of you. So I had some with my dinner last weekend. I had Verdant Fest beer, which didn't actually score that well. It was quite low at the list for you. I thought it was delicious.
It was a delicious beer, just not very festy.
Yeah. That was it probably. And then I had the Donzonko Fest beer as well, which I thought was great.
That's cool. I think that came like fourth or maybe fifth.
It's mid. No. I'm actually looking at the table right now. So shall I run through the table?
All right,
starting from first. So first place, Paulaner. We'd be a bit worried if it didn't. Second place, Thornbridge. Banging. I haven't had that one. Braybrook. Third. Manchester. Hang on. Third? Yeah, third. Manchester Union, fourth. Lost and Grounded, fifth. Donzoko, sixth. Utopian, seventh. Track, eighth. Daya and Braybrook, 9. Verdant, 10. McCall's, 11. Pillars, 12. St Mars, 13. Abbeydale, 14. So, I mean, that's a fucking incredible list of incredible breweries, British breweries that you sampled there. So, amazing to see them all getting in on the fun.
Yeah. The thing I also want to say is a little shout out to McCall's, who are not a brewery I'd ever had, but they got in touch when I put out a little plea on social for anybody making fest beers, and they sent us a good couple of beers. And after we filmed after we filmed our Oktoberfest video together, Bradley, we tried the dry hop saison from McCall's that was absolutely stellar.
Banging.
It was amazing. I messaged them and said how good it was, and they said, yeah, we really love it. It really doesn't sell, but we just keep brewing it because we love it. There's Motueka and... Oh, God, what was it? Motueka and SARS, I think, dry hopped saison, and it was so good. Like, I keep thinking about it. And in fact, I've just finished writing, I'm writing a section for Camera's Good Beer Guide. Good Brewery Guide, I think it's called. And I had to put it in there as one of my top 10 beers of the year. I thought it was absolutely amazing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Great. Shout out to McCall's. Couple of comments. What do you reckon?
Hit me, yeah. Yeah, we're at 45 minutes, but hit me.
Oh, okay, I'll do just some real quick ones then. David Ellis, excellent infotainment, gents, as always. Ville Ejanto, blind taste tests are the most entertaining. I agree. I think they're very entertaining. Josh Dutton, happy to see Thornbridge's rating just below Paulana. Was rooting for that one, has had it the other night and thought it was a cracker. Glad the beer expert can back up my affirmations.
God, let's not make him a separate character to me.
You are now the beer expert. No, you are now the beer expert.
Cool.
I'm the Brad. You are the beer expert. We're just going to change your name now. It's more marketable, Johnny. It's more marketable
than Johnny Garrett. That's fair.
Yeah, I don't know. No, maybe not. Did you have any comments, Johnny? Even though we're over the optimum time now by 30 seconds.
Yeah, we've gone beyond what people are asking for. So I picked out one from the Backyard Brewer who said, I think it was the fact that the micros were more daring with the recipe and ingredients that they didn't win the head-to-head, not the other way around as you were surmising at the end. Germans make the best macro beer on earth pretty much. It's nothing to lament. Absolutely, Germans do make the best macro beer. I think we mentioned that in our joint Oktoberfest video, didn't we? Nobody makes macro beer like the Germans. But what I wanted to pick up on in this comment is this idea that micros are more daring with the recipes and ingredients, and that can either be a good or a bad thing. Because it's sort of at the heart of craft, isn't it? The theory is, the marketing is that if you are smaller, you can be more flexible, you can buy higher quality ingredients, you can focus on it, you can give it more time, all this kind of stuff. It's not necessarily true. You don't have the buying power of the big breweries. You don't necessarily have the capacity to lager things forever. And to be honest, if you're brewing a style for the first time, you might be super safe with it rather than super daring. So I wasn't surmising, I don't think. I was musing. I'm not really sure why the smaller breweries didn't do quite as well as the classic. I mean, Paulana have all the world's brewing technology at their fingertips, all of the experience, all of the distribution to make sure it's bang fresh and packaged right and put out into the world in the right way. So that's always going to help them. And of course, they're a German macro brewery, so they're the best in the world at doing what they do. But I think it's worth noting that not many of those recipes did diverge hugely from classic fest beers. The Abbeydale one definitely did. That was just not to style whatsoever. But the others were all pretty down the line, all pretty similar. So I don't think anybody was daring. I don't think anybody was throwing any unusual hops in there in retrospect. When I chatted to James from Verdant about it, because he watched that video as well, and he said, I just want to clear up that it was a very safe recipe we did. It was I think they said it was their usual house yeast, their usual starting gravity or finishing gravity to their Helles, and they bumped up the starting gravity and added some Munich, and that was about it. So actually, they've done it pretty close to probably what most people would expect. It's just experience in brewing these styles. So I fully expect that next year they will be even better, and will hopefully be growing that kind of segment. I hope it's not a flash in the pan. I hope it's not a little trend that we had this year. I hope it sticks around, because we could have a really great September every year if that continues. Big time, mate.
I
think
have we got any? Yeah.
I mean, there was so much we want to talk about. I mean, this is basically a double episode because we missed one, but we wanted to talk about the controversy around Brewdog Collab Fest.
Yeah, go on.
Which, I mean, it's a big topic, but essentially, we and I think a lot of people online have been very disappointed by the breweries that have got involved in the Collab Fest, which is an annual collaboration series that Brewdog do. Essentially, they pair up their British bars with local breweries, and those bars brew at those local breweries a style that they release at their bars, along with lots of others from around the country. Obviously, for us, we're not featuring Brewdog. We're not championing Brewdog in any way at the moment. They have a lot of work to do to atone for their past and to improve their future. And I've just been surprised the amount of vehemence that there is out there against Brewdog. It turns out that if they say, we'll buy a full batch off of you at a decent price, people will work with them, including breweries that have done Brave Noise beers, which to me is shocking. So I guess my question to everyone out there to think about is, around last year, was it, or the start of this year, we all lost our minds about people pouring at Michela's festival. Shouldn't we be doing the same about this with Collab Fest? Why does this feel different? It might be that it is different. I still haven't sort of worked it out in my mind, but I feel like we should not be supporting this event through these breweries. Whether we should be boycotting or kicking off about the breweries that are involved, I don't know. I haven't formed an opinion on it. Have you got one, Brad?
All I'm gonna say is money talks and bullshit walks, right? So you can greenwash yourself and say you have a good policy around all of this sort of stuff and treating people equally and representing people and all the rest of it. But then if you go and do a frigging collab fest with guys that are kind of dicks and the opposite of what you say you stand for, maybe for a pretty penny, then that's worse than like not saying anything, right?
Yeah, I mean it is worse because what it looks like you did, the Brave Noise collaboration or the code of conduct or the statement online as a marketing trick, right?
Yeah.
Because you clearly don't
believe it.
It
feels disingenuous for sure. Like it feels like, oh, okay. So it's kind of like it's trendy at the moment to say that sort of thing, or it makes you feel good to sort of say that you're kind of believe in this sort of how things should be.
Almost buys you some sort of moral grace to do something wrong.
Yeah, definitely. Which is weird. I think obviously a lot of people do kind of like stand on the coattails of movements and get carried along with them, or it's. I think it's sometimes it's easier just for people to go, yeah, I agree with that, than kind of come out. I mean, I don't know who these days would come out and say, no, I don't agree with any of that, because it's suicide to say that you don't think that people should be treated the same and there shouldn't be discrimination and sexual badness going on in the workplace. So, it's kind of crazy. But I think it's very disingenuous to say you support a movement and then just as soon as something comes along, just to go, okay, I'll take your money and you can sell my beer, because you can see why they might, with all the cost of living crisis and for businesses and whatnot, probably is harder to sell beer at a decent price and to keep your brewery open. But like, I'd question, is it worth putting everything on the line for that one sale? Where you've lost all of this goodwill that's you potentially gained by sharing an ethos of being a nice person, to then kind of throw it all away to just chase a bit of short-term money. Seems
I guess
stupid.
I guess our official stance is, in a couple of weeks' time, we can be like, was it fucking worth it?
Yeah, that's it, right? And maybe it is worth it, Johnny. Maybe these people are struggling that much where they're like, fuck, we need to shift some units to keep the lights on.
Yeah, I mean, where does that line sit? We're saying, support your independence. They should be doing everything that they can to survive. They've got employees to think about, and then we say, sell as much beer as you can, except to those guys.
Yeah.
It isn't black and white. I do understand that.
Those guys being
debate that.
Sorry. Well, those guys being guys that have a network of, craft beer pubs around the country, which lots of they basically they have a network that they can sell your beers if you get in with them. Right?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, and I don't know how many sort of craft beer drinkers really think about this. So you brew a beer, and that has its cost attached, and then you've got the cost of, if you're going to sell to lots of different places, you've got the cost of the shipping and the delivery of these beers to lots of different people. You've probably got a sales force out there, or a salesperson out there that is you're paying a commission to, and they're traveling and they've got their costs alongside their wage and their bonuses and all of that. You've then got your time, your logistics to make sure that all happens, and then the cost of marketing all of those beers, of tap badges, of all of this. You have Brewdog come along, go, we'll buy it for this amount. You send all of the pallets to this one location, and you've sold an entire batch of beer in a 10-minute phone call. And at the same time, you're going to get Brewdog's marketing behind it. Like that is very easy to convince people that that's a brilliant thing to do for your business. And I think that that's what's happened. People have gone, I can't turn that down right now. I'd imagine that would be the answer from most of the breweries. But yeah, is it worth it? I sat here with we have a small independent business where we can just turn away from Brewdog and go, well, see you later. Not everybody's in that position. And I would like to think that if I was in the brewery's position, I'd still say no. And there probably are lots of breweries that had said no, and they won't get any thanks for it because they won't be on the posters or anything. But I'd like to think I would, but I don't know the financial situations of these breweries. So I don't know.
That is the thing,
tough,
right?
Man. It's super
like you
tough.
just said. If you did say no, nobody knows you said no, right? So
which shouldn't be. It shouldn't be a. Because that is virtue signaling. It's like you're not going to do something good unless people are going to say, "Oh, well done." That is a bad approach to have, but it is definitely. Well, I guess the reason I brought that up is because I think we should remember, maybe look at the breweries that have worked with them in the past and aren't this year. Maybe they've turned away from it. But it's a complicated issue, and actually maybe I've stumbled across why the McKellar one feels a little bit different, and that's because there's very little commercial benefit to doing the McKellar Festival. That was a jolly for some people that get to go to Copenhagen, get to taste some amazing beer, get to go to a load of tap takeovers and have some great food and then come home. That felt like a real fuck you to the people that have been caught up in the controversies of McKellar and the people that have been, abused and working in toxic workplaces at McKellar, because it was like, it's just a jolly, just don't go. Like, how hard is it to not go to a beer festival? Whereas this time we're talking about businesses' livelihoods. And while I think some of the breweries that are involved will be fine without doing Collab Fest, maybe others wouldn't. So yeah, I mean, again, I'm interested in everybody's thoughts about what you'd like to see our stance to be, about what you think anybody's stance should be, about what you'll be doing as a result of this, if you were going to support them and you weren't, or if you weren't going to and now you are, I don't know. Like, we'd love to hear these conversations. We love them in the Patreon forum. We love it if you could tag us on social with all of these talks. And we'd love you to give us your views on this podcast, because this is now an hour-long podcast. I mean, there was a lot to talk about. It was a double episode because we didn't have one last week. But I feel like it's gone all right. I feel like we could do this some weeks, not every week.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe the monthly one's a solution. But do let us know your thoughts in the Patreon and on social.
Go on. I feel like you're wrapping up, but I just wanted to add about sort of controversial breweries. The other day on Instagram, sometimes it pops up and it says, this person has a new post or a new story, and it kind of wants you to check it out. So it pops up as an alert on your phone. You're not even in Instagram, but it pops up, right? So the other day, for Craft Beer Channel account, it pops up on my phone. What's this for a lineup of rogues, mate? It said, check out these accounts with new stories. Dogfish Head IPA, Dogfish Head, McKellar, and Brewdog. I was like, wow. Are they paying to push that, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I more imagine
like
that those are accounts that get a lot of engagement and they're in the beer space, so the algorithm thinks you'd be interested in this because you haven't seen these bits yet. Yeah, it said this, and this, all three of them in one alert that popped up for me, and it made me think, wow, these are potentially some bad eggs here that have. Well, I mean, Dogfish Head, all they've done is sell to Sam Adams, In fact, they're collaborating with Signature Brew this weekend or next weekend, which
okay,
I didn't know where that sort of came from. We got an invite to the event.
Oh,
if you want to
fuck,
go.
I saw that. Yeah. This is the...
There's a punk band playing that I'd heard of as well.
Yeah. I did see that. It's got an interesting name of the beer, hasn't it? It's like...
And
maybe that was the band.
It was a pear-infused Czech Pilsner, which sent a shiver down my spine. But actually, that reminds me, before we go, I should plug the event that means that I can't go to that event, which is that on Saturday night at Villages Brewery. Brad, are you coming? Are you about Saturday night? It's right down your neck of the woods.
Villages. Oh, mate, you're coming to Villages?
I'm coming to Villages. Have I not told you about this?
The fuck?
I've definitely told you about this. I may not have told you the date. So at Villages, David Jessedusson, who was in our documentary talking about the marketing of IPA and the exploitation of India, he's released a colonized IPA with Villages. And we're doing a panel talk for Good Beer Hunting. So I'm hosting the panel talk, recording it for a podcast, and we're having amazing Indian food. Actually, from the Gladstone, they're supplying the food, they're catering. We've got the delicious beer on tap, which is a spiced IPA, and we're going to be talking about the history of IPA and the future of IPA in a panel talk, and then there's going to be DJs and great music and all kinds of things afterwards. So if you're about on Saturday night, come down. I'll be there. Brad might be there if I'd told him the date.
I'm in bloody Margate. She didn't tell me this.
Damn it. Sorry, man.
What, and is this Saturday night?
This Saturday night.
Oh,
tomorrow.
You didn't tell me
tomorrow.
This. God damn. I would have stayed around for that, but now I'm busy.
Well, this is going to be an awkward way to end the pod.
Yeah. No, he didn't tell me you're in my hood. That is awkward. What time is it kicking off, Johnny? Because that place gets Ramo on a Saturday night.
I think it kicks off at 6.
Not very big. Okay, it's not very big. Villages. It's quite a small tap room.
Why?
I'd be intrigued to know where.
Why are you tearing down our event?
No. I'm not saying it like that,
plenty of space,
dude.
Amazing food. It's all free. Just come on down and talk about the future of IPA.
It's all free.
It's all free, mate.
Really?
Well, no, the beer's not free. Come on. But
what's free? The food's free.
No,
the entertainment's
going
free.
In. Yeah, and the entertainment.
Oh,
I say it's not a ticketed event. That's what I'm trying to say.
So can we just say it's not all free, but you can go in for free, which you can get in for free anyway, not all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, Bradley's really trying to get his own back on me for getting to tell him
I'm
about
hurt.
the date.
I'm hurt, Johnny.
I think I've even talked about it in the podcast,
hurt.
just not told you the date.
Oh, that's fucked up.
Right, anyway, I'm going to end this podcast here because me and Brad need to have a talk off stage. But yeah, let us know your thoughts about the pod. Let us know your thoughts about the Brewdog Collab Fest. And as always, please do sign up to our Patreon and you can get involved in the conversations happening there day in, day out, as well as beneath all of our videos. All right, we'll catch you next week. Love you, beer. The Bubble and Friday 5pm podcasts are brought to you by the nerds behind YouTube's Craft Beer channel. You can watch over 400 mini documentaries at youtube.com/the Craft Beer channel. And if you love what we do, support us via Patreon and get access to merchandise and our amazing Discord forum, a positive and welcoming space for everyone who loves beer, food, and homebrewing. Love and beer.